Alright, now let's move to setting the default value property for a field. And to do that, we're going to go back into our design views. Go ahead and click on the view button here in the views group of our home tab. And that should set us to design view as expected. And click the state field name here. Make that the active or current field. And let's go down to our field properties with our shortcut. And let's click the default value box here. We want to set Connecticut as our default value. So in our default value, we are going to add some quotes. Well, we don't have to do it. It should do it after we type in CT, capital C, capital T. If we hit tab, you'll see that it puts the quotes around for us. Now the default value every time a record is created will be Connecticut or CT. Now if this was a number, the quotes would not be picked up, but because this is a text value, that's why quotation marks are there. So let's go ahead and save that now that we just made a change, and we're going to toggle the view button here to go back to our datasheet view, and you can see that when we have a record, unless we change it, it's going to have a default value of CT. Now let's add a couple records to our patient table now that we have it designed and all of our fields set up. So with this first record, you're going to put a patient value or patient ID of 22500. Then you're going to put your last name and first name in the table. Date of birth is going to be 2/28/1994. Phone number of 860-938-2822. Address of 501 Perkins Drive. It's in the city of Hartford. We're going to leave our default value of Connecticut there. Zip code 06120. And you're going to put an email of just student1@example.edu. So let's go ahead and populate that now. Once you've got that in there, we're going to put in a second field for Christina Rowe with a patient ID of 22533. And her date of birth is 12/5/1941. Phone number 860-552-5920 with an address of 27 Tracy Court in Windsor, Connecticut. Zip code 06095. And her email will be c.rowe@example.com. So go ahead and enter that information now. So your table should look like mine with the same information, other than you will have your last name and first name in these fields. Take a look at your columns and see if you need to resize any to best fit, and then save and close the patient table. Now obviously our email needs to be best fit of practice. Go ahead and hit save, and you can close the patient table. Good job everyone on completing that part. Now let's look at adding some information to our patient table from a text file. So we've done information from Excel, we've added information from another Access database, a table in that database. Now let's add data to the table by importing a text file. So if we go to our ribbon and we click on the External Data tab again, from there in our import and link, we're going to click text file, and we're going to browse for the file that we need. We are looking for the patient text file, which is in our student data folder, so we're going to double click that, and now we have that file selected. We next want to look at clicking the option appending a copy of the records to the table, so click that option button there. And the box to the right of this option is now going to become active. So we need to select the table to which we want to add this data. As I said, we want to add this to the patient table, so we go to our drop-down menu here. We select patient. Now we're going to go ahead and click the OK button. And we should have an Import Text Wizard dialog box open up for us, which it has. And the dialog box here indicates that the data that we have, so it's going to be imported, and it's in a delimited format. The delimited text file is one in which fields of the data are going to be separated by characters such as like a comma or a tab. And in this case, the dialog box shows that the data is separated by the comma character, as you see in each of these rows. So before moving on, make sure Delimited is selected, and then go ahead and click the next button. As you can see, we have a second Import Text Wizard dialog box that's opened here. And we can see that fields in this text file are definitely separated by commas. And we have a preview here of the data that's going to be imported into our table. So we've made sure that comma is selected. So we're going to go ahead and click the next button here. And this is our third and our final Import Text Wizard dialog box that's opened up for us now. Now note that the Import to Table box shows that we have selected the patient table, and that's where it's going to put the data that we're wanting in there. So you've verified that. Go ahead and click the Finish button, and a dialog box pops up again, asks us, are we sure we want to save the import, or do we want to save those import steps? We're only going to import this once, so there's no need to save that. So just go ahead and click the Close button. Now let's take a look at what we've got. So in our navigation pane here, let's double click the patient table. That'll open up the patient table, and it's in datasheet view, as you can see. And we have a total of 51 records now in our patient table. As always, resize the columns to best fit, so glance over those, see if anything jumps out at you right away. I can see that the address is obviously needs to be best fit. This one looks good. I'm going to take a look at my email. That looks a little crunched up, so we'll apply best fit to that as well. Possibly city, but I don't see anything where any of the characters look crunched up, so that looks good there. Let's go ahead and save and close our patient table now that we've imported our data. That looks great. Now let's look at defining relationships, and we're going to, between the two tables, we're going to create a one-to-many relationship between our patient and our visit table. So on the ribbon up here, click on your Database Tools tab to make that active. Then you'll see that we have a relationships group available to us, and we're going to select the relationship buttons here. And then we'll get a Show Table dialog box here. As I said, we're going to do this with the patient and visit. So let's add our patient table. Click the patient button. That's now selected that table. We click add, and it's added in our workspace area. We also need to select the visit table, so we can click visit. We can double click that, or we can click the add button. Now that we have those two tables added here, we're going to close our Show Table dialog box. Now we can view all of our fields. We may need to resize this. As you can see, we can see all the fields in visit, but not in patient, as we have our scrolling bar here. So let's just go ahead and grab the bottom of that, drag it down until we see all of our fields. Now we can see all the fields in both tables. Now let's form the relationship between these two tables. And to do that, we need to drag a common field from the patient ID from the primary table to the other table. So if we look at this, we see that we have patient ID here. That is common in both of these. So let's click the patient ID here in our patient field list. And we're going to drag it to the patient ID in the visit field list. Then you release it, and you see we have our relationship dialog box here. So a quick look here. We have our primary table as patient. We have our related table, which is visit. We have a common field of patient ID. We have the option to enforce referential integrity, which we're going to go ahead and click now. And you can see we have two other options that come available, two different types of cascading options. Now if you select the Cascade Updated Related Fields option, Access is going to update the appropriate foreign key values in the related table, which is our visit table. whenever we change a primary key value in the primary table. Now you will not select the cascade delete deleted records because doing so could cause you to delete records that you do not necessarily want to delete. This option is rarely used, so we are definitely not going to be selecting it now as either. And you can see that our relation type has been defined as a one-to-many relationship. Now we do want to go ahead and select Cascade Updated Related Fields, obviously. Once you've done that, we've created this relationship. There's nothing else to edit. Let's go ahead and click Create, and you will see that we now have a one-to-many relationship created between patient ID in the patient table and patient ID in the visit table.